If you want to make more money by doing less work, you have to understand the 4 levels of value that connect to the amount of work that you do and the amount of money that you bring in. Using this 4-step process, I want to show you how your income can increase with every level by changing the type of value that you bring to the project that you're working on. You often hear the word value thrown around a lot. Some people it means budget, with other people it's about return on investment. But have you ever really thought about the definition of it? I remember years ago, an entrepreneurial mentor that I had told me that they could spend more hours working at a car wash, working their butts off, getting really sweaty, grimy and greasy, and earn nowhere near as much money as they would now if they just applied 3 hours of thought to a particular problem. And that thought really struck with me. The idea that I could spend 8 hours doing one thing or 8 hours doing something else, and I could earn vastly different sums of money depending on the type of problem that I was solving and where I was applying my energy. If you've ever struggled to achieve the goals that you have in your life, or you've ever felt like you're failing to keep up with what everyone else is doing around you, it's probably because you're not applying the right level of energy to the right value area. I know this sounds like entrepreneurial influencer type bullshit, but I promise you there's a lot of logic to this, and we're going to go through that in this video. So there's basically 4 levels of value. Now, if you've watched another video that I've talked about where I define value, value can be also defined as difference. The difference that you make. The difference you make to a project, the difference you make to your customer, the difference you make to your own life. I'm going to take you through those 4 levels. We've first got implementation, we've then got unification, we've got communication, and we've got imagination. So at the very bottom, we have level 1, which is implementation. Physical labor has been the primary source of value or creating a difference for centuries. Everything from agriculture to building, construction, going all the way through. It wasn't until the Industrial Revolution that we began to exponentially increase our output or difference made by the amount of labor that we produced. However, there are still a lot of people using manual labor in order to create a living. Now, these people are often overlooked and taken for granted, despite the fact that they tend to be the backbone of the majority of our companies. However, it is also extremely replaceable. We are seeing more and more people being replaced by machines, automation, and more efficient techniques. What used to take a group of 40 people to harvest wheat in, even in the 1800s or 1900s can now be done by a handful of people using very high-tech and sophisticated machinery. And that's going to get worse. Everything from house building to legal work is all going to be replaced by machine learning and automation. If you are building things for your customers, if you are building funnels, if you are doing the copywriting, you are at the lowest level of value. And while that might seem harsh, that is unfortunately the truth, which is why you need to start thinking about these second level. Value level number 2 is unification. And this is essentially another word for management. If you're a smart enough person and you can bring together 10 laborers, you can yield the results of 10 laborers by only doing the work of one person, because you are unifying the labor of 10 different people. Unifying people to a common cause is often called leadership, and management is a big part of that. They're not exactly the same thing, but the ability to get a load of people moving in the same direction is extremely valuable, and administrators and great managers are the glue that holds companies together. You as a manager can earn much, much more than someone who does the work, because you are unifying the work of multiple people and driving it in the same direction. You're probably thinking right now, how could I possibly create more wealth and change my value level if you're already struggling with the lifestyle that you run at the moment? And this means it's time to face the facts. The current way of doing things isn't working for you. In fact, it isn't working for most businesses. And with that, you need a new strategy, something that puts value or making a difference first. My name is Mike Killen. I'm the founder of Sell Your Service. I also created this channel because I want to teach businesses like you how to create more value within your agency. I also want to show you how to enjoy your life more by creating more value in your own life, and how to earn more and make as much money as you want, selling whatever you want, to make it feel like you're making a meaningful contribution. If that sounds like the type of content content that you want to get on board with, I produce new videos like this every single week, so go ahead and click subscribe. And if this video was useful, hit the like button, it really helps me out. Leave a comment down below. In the meantime, let's get back to the video. Value number 3 is probably the most despised of all the levels because this is communication. Artists, celebrities, politicians, speakers, influencers, these are people who communicate out to large audiences. A salesman wouldn't be able to sell their product. An artist wouldn't be able to do their work. Politicians wouldn't be able to be voted in. If speakers can't give a persuading argument to an audience and make them feel a certain emotion, then that value level doesn't exist. Communication is what is fed to our administrators and managers in order for the managers to move a unified working force forward. This is why communication is so key. If you as a communicator can communicate an idea that other people understand and want to move towards, you're moving further and further into a true leadership position. And some of these speaking roles and influencer roles, frankly, create way more wealth than any of the working roles below. I earn more making one of these YouTube videos or speaking at one event for 45 minutes than I could ever do building marketing funnels for my customers. Communicating and communicating ideas well that moves people is what creates enormous levels of value, both for you and for the person listening to you. And level number 4 is imagination, which I know sounds insane. How could you possibly get paid to imagine things? Now, what you first of all have to understand is that whenever your teachers told you, stop daydreaming, take your heads out of the clouds and stop imagining things, that is because the school systems are literally designed to build value one workers. Most people stay in that mindset throughout their entire life. They might go through secondary and tertiary and further education and ultimately come out the end extremely educated with a lot of debt, but still only doing value one work, which is implementation. Doing the work is still muscle work. It is still only applying muscle work to that. And yet there are some jobs which obviously, absolutely, categorically need to be done. Doctors, surgeons, nurses, teachers, there's an awful lot that can't be replaced with automation yet. But imagination is where entrepreneurs, founders, company owners, visionaries, all these types of people come together, and this is where they really make a difference. The problem is that most people who set up a business as an entrepreneur immediately put themselves in a value one position and try to do the work. They might sometimes move themselves into a managerial position, but they're still not making as much money or creating as much wealth as they could because they're not creating as much value as they could. For entrepreneurs and founders and startups and visionaries, imagination is about solving big problems. It's essentially looking at the world and saying, what could I do differently and what huge problem could I solve for a huge group of people? Those that tap into their creativity and share their ideas with others, those are the ones who are most likely to find success, great wealth, and create enormous value. Imagination is what drives innovation and growth and progress. The thing that I love more about being a business owner, more than anything else, is that I can see a problem and I can take charge of it. I can say, how could we fix this? Rather than having to defer it to a manager or having to hope that someone else fixes it, I'm able to say, I can do something about that and I'm gonna make people's lives better. The bigger the problem I solve, the more value I create, which is to say the bigger the difference I make in other people's lives. And I'm rewarded for that using that. If you want to make a difference in the world, start tapping into your imagination. Let it run wild and see what you create. You might be surprised at the types of problems that you solve and the vision that you have. Now, one of the biggest mistakes I see people make is they try to optimize the level that they're at. They usually stick at level 1, maybe level 2, and they try to get better at that rather than thinking, how could I move either into the communication or the imagination level for wealth and value creation? If you're interested in providing more value to your customers, don't optimize where you are, try to get to that next level. Identifying where you are in the business right now is important because it's going to help you get to that next level. Typically, you're going to need to learn whatever it takes at value level 2 to get to level 3 and so on. But what I would suggest is thinking actively and deliberately saying, I want to move to this next level and here's how I'm going to do it. Coming up next, I talk about a 6-hour work week, which I know sounds insane, but is actually more effective and efficient than a lot of people might think about. You might recognize the title as well. It's a little bit of a rip-off. Other than that, thank you so much for your support. Massively appreciate you hanging out with me in this video. Other than that, I will see you on the next video. Have courage, commit, and take action.